Dear friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be diving into this machine on the Vulnhub double. And although here in the description, it's saying this machine is really entry-level box, but I don't agree. Yeah, indeed, this is a beginner-level machine, but it's not so that easy. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. So now, let's start our hacking way through this Vulnhub machine. And I'd like to take this video to show you some techniques to test local file inclusion vulnerability. Okay, what I mean by local file inclusion vulnerability. Usually we can use this file to test whether the target machine exists LFI or local file inclusion vulnerability. But in some cases, we need to put double dot. Double dots stands for upper directory and all the way to the root of the machine. And then can find this password file, okay? But in some very special cases, we need to, I have already encountered one situation, we need to use, more than 10 layers of such up directory, okay? If you manually do this, this will be time consuming. We can use the Python to automate this process, okay? You will know what I mean when we get there, okay? So now, let's bring up the terminal to discover the IP address of the target first. And the utility I'd like to use, as always, would be net discover. Let's press enter. So as you can see over here, the IP address of the target could be recognized as 207. We can note down such information to proceed. So what shall we do next? We need to perform port and surface scanning with a map. To save time of this video, I've already completed before. So now we can get out its result. Let's scroll up a bit. So as you can see over here, I took the options like scene scan, the default script scan, the virtual scan, and then -p- to do the full range port scan. The last option for all is ON to output the result into this file. Although you can notice here, the IP address of the target machine has been changed since I re-imported the machine into the VirtualBox. So different IP address has been assigned by internal DHCP server of VirtualBox this time. But this doesn't affect our pen testing, okay? From the Nmap scanning results, we can tell that the target has 1, 2, 3, 4 open ports in total. Let's take a look at them one by one. The first one is 22, which is running SSH service, and also the version information open SSH, and its corresponding version number. I don't think this version is vulnerable, okay? And second port is 25, which is running SMTP service or simple mail transfer protocol, and also the version information postfix SMTPD. This is a very famous service for the mail. And I think we can get something. This should be the common name. We can copy. So the port 22 SSH service port 25 SMTP, and port 80 HTTP, port 8080 HTTP as well. Okay, and enumeration. So this would be possible domain name or host name. Let's go back. In many cases, we cannot get, at the initial stage, we cannot get anything valuable from the SMTP service. Of course, if we can get the username, and then we can try to make brute forcing. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. The next port number is 80, which is running HTTP service, and also the version information Apache 2, like the last one, 8080. But this one, I think we are required to authenticate, because I got this error for 101 unauthorized. So what shall we do next? I think we need to enumerate these two web applications, especially this one, okay? Both manually and automatically. Let's fire up the browser to perform manual enumeration first. We can put the IP address of the target into the address bar. Press enter. So this is, SSCS, and also the version, Super Secure Command Shell. A bit when I arrived at this point, when I did the machine the first time, I was a bit exciting, because maybe we can run command directly, and then this machine would be very easy. Okay, so here below this title, we can see there are two hyperlinks. The first one is production and test. When we click the test hyperlink, we are redirected to this 8080, and we can try to use default credential admin and admin to sign in, but doesn't work. So now I think our focus should be this port number 80, okay? And the production, so we can submit command, for example, like ls command, code, we don't know, maybe 1, 2, 3, send command. We didn't get error, and we are redirect, or our information has been submitted to this page. Production, send command.php, out and out. We can copy and paste over here. So I think here we can get something, because we didn't get error. And you can notice this information, this line. This ls command is what we've just submitted, or we just tried to execute. Although this command itself is not executed as we expected, but we didn't get error, right? Maybe. So I think at this point we can guess. How about submit some malicious code to the web application, and because this code would be, accessed, or can be accessed this page. Okay. So I think this should be a very possible vector. But before we try to get there, I'd like to continue our enumeration. Okay, so I can copy. So here, possibly submit malicious code, such as one-liner PHP code. And then we can access this this page or this file. Okay, this is very similar to log poisoning, because this page is some kind of log data. Okay, so now let's go back. I mentioned we need to finish the enumeration. Okay, so now how to do? We can check whether this side has robots file or not. Robots file, but not found. Negative. Okay. So I think this should be, at least I think so. Before we try to exploit something, we need to, gather information as much as possible. Okay. I think it's done, but we didn't get back anything valuable. So now I'd like to launch the GoBuster to perform directory enumeration. Let me, configure this command from scratch. GoBuster, and here I'd like to use one of its subcommand, dir, short for directory enumeration, and then we can use -u option to specify the URL of the target. Okay, and use the option of W to specify the word list. And if you have already followed my channel, you know that I always use this word list to begin with. Directory, extension option, press enter. So production, of course, just now we have already discovered this directory manually. But anyway, I don't think GoBuster can find anything else in terms of valuable or hidden directories or files. So I'd like to interrupt GoBuster here to save the time of this video. Okay, so now let's go back to my note. Just now we have a guess, that this application maybe exist. So how do I call it? Maybe something like log poisoning. And log poisoning has a lot to do with the file inclusion vulnerability, right? Well, has a lot to do with this, the LFI. So also you can check the pattern of this URL. Maybe the out has LFI vulnerability. We can try to access other files rather than out file. Okay, so let me copy and paste over here. So usually we can check to see whether we can directly access a password file. Okay, let's press enter. Yeah, as you can see, we successfully retrieved this file. But as I mentioned at the very beginning, in many cases, we need to test, we need to add more up layer like this one, okay? Until we can find proper the path to retrieve this file, and then we can confirm indeed the application is vulnerable to local file inclusion vulnerability. Okay, let's press enter. So now I'm going to use Python to to conduct or automate such a process. Okay, let me copy this URL. We can copy. We can create a new file, Python file, and we can call it, of course, anything, test LFI. And we need to import a few modules. The first module is requests module, which is third-party module. In order to use this module, we need to use pip to install it. Request module can make our, web request much easier in comparison to built-in module. URL lib, okay? URL lib, very effective and convenient. And the next module I'm going to import is sys module. This module can control the flow of the program, okay? So how to do? We can define the variable up. It means the up layer, okay? So next, we can have for loop for I in range 1 to maybe 10, 20, because Python can do this very quickly. So we can, I think 20 layers is enough in most cases. So now we can, maybe also we can define the variable base URL, and we can copy it from notebook, or notebook, from the browser. Sorry about this. So next, if I equal 1, and then the URL should be base URL and password, okay? Else, URL should be base URL and concatenate up multiply I, and then etec password, etec. This slash should be removed, okay? So now we can send requests to the target URL. If length response text is larger than 0, then we can print out found valid URL and print out the URL itself. And then we can exit from the program. Okay, so that's it. And now we can run this Python script. Let's press enter. As you can see, very quick, because in this case, we do not need to iterate to number 2 or number 3, because in this case, we can use the original or the absolute path of a password file, okay? So how can we do next? Just now, if you think we can, now we have already discovered this local file inclusive vulnerability. So how can we do next? We can try to, maybe we can use command line. We can copy over here. We can try to, okay, password. And so there are 2 normal users, the PPP and the second one is Fox. So next we can try to retrieve the private key, home Viper, right? Oh, Fox. Private key. So we cannot open this file, okay? And also we can try another user, PPP. We got the same error. Next, we can try to access the local file. We get the same error. And also the Apache 2 access log file. We get the same error. So how can we do next? although we have already found this local file inclusion vulnerability. Also, if you want, you can check whether this application is vulnerable to remote file inclusion vulnerability. Okay, so maybe we can, for example, we can create a file test, and then we can set up a web server on the Kali Linux. So now we can try to access Kali Linux test to see whether this application is vulnerable to remote file inclusion vulnerability. Press enter. We got an error. Okay, so how do we do next? Just now, besides local file inclusion vulnerability, earlier we thought maybe we can submit some kinds of malicious code. Okay, let's do it now. For example, let's go back. Maybe we can open new file. Okay, so the production, and we can use one-liner of PHP code, like this one. Question mark, PHP system function, the get method. Also, you can use post method, but the get method is much easy. Okay, and CMD is parameter. So afterwards, we can pass this parameter, pass the value to this parameter to execute a command. Okay, let's go back. And now the code, we can put anything, 1, 2, 3, send command, because this value or this information would be saved into the outer file, and later we can access this file out, and the uploaded code will be executed. Okay, so send command. Okay, so now we can check whether we can run command out and end cmd id. As you can see, the command of id has been executed as we expected. Fantastic. Now we can check to see whether we can access netcat. Netcat is available. So I think it's very clear what we are going to do next. We need to run reversal command. Okay, so now we can set up the listener on the Kali Linux, waiting for collection from the target machine. And here we can run netcat, IP address of the Kali Linux, port number. Press enter. I think it's working. Beautiful. We have already got a collection from the target. And then we can use Python to spawn interactive shell. Python 2 is available. And then we can execute or import pty module, pty spawn method, spawn the bash. Okay, it's much better. So also I'd like to define the environment variable term. Then we can clear screen whenever. Export term x term. Okay. I'm a bit confused, but this doesn't matter. So the Linux term x term. I got it wrong. Export term and color. Okay, it's done. So now we need to gather information to try to make lateral movement or privilege escalation. Let's go to home directory for 2 normal users. We know that, folks. Nothing here. Go to PPP. Nothing here. And also we can run ID. We can run sudo. Sudo command not found. We can find perm or permission for 1000. Type is file. Okay, so this command is trying to find binaries with SUID bit. So SUID bit in Linux means when current user runs this binary, will temporarily get privilege of its owner. So here you can notice this binary, nice. So we can, make use of this binary to elevate privilege. But the question is how? And we can go to this website to search. Here we just copy this piece. And we can run. Nice. Okay, press enter. As you can see, we are successful. We have already become, the bigger boss of this machine or root. So then we can navigate to root directory and to capture the final flag. So I think that's pretty much it. I'd like to see you next. Have a good day, please.